See you down there. Yeah, my brother.
Have fun. See you in a few.
Let's fucking get it. All right, 3, 2, 1. See ya.
Hello, friends. You're listening to Exit Point,
a podcast about the advancement of base jumping and the exploration of its culture.
Join us for valuable insights and gripping stories from some of the world's top adventure athletes.
Oh my God, that's the sickest thing I ever did in my life! Woo!
Dude, so thanks for taking the time to record with us today, man. I really appreciate it. You got a busy schedule.
Yeah, it's busy at the moment. Yeah, far out. It's just kind of come into that, that part of the season where it's like the work in the tunnel is just like, it's getting cold outside. So everyone's rushing to get in there to start, so all the slots are filling up and I've just got big shifts and yeah.
Yeah, there's just like the tunnel's full, isn't it? Like you have to reserve time months in advance.
I mean, it depends when you come. You know what I mean? It's like it's busy and peak and off peak kind of times, let's call them. But yeah, it's like the tunnels. I don't know when you came. I'm pretty sure you've been there before, right? You've been there
3 or 4 times.
Yeah. When was the last time you came?
It was, I think, about a year and a half ago.
Okay, all right. So you kind of know what it's like now. It's just like it's like an ever evolving sort of thing. It's like getting more and more, like, let's say, efficient, right? So it's like I think every time, say, people are coming, that we got a new prop, for example, and then new turning vanes, and every time there's this incremental new, step up, there's more power and more, So it's like the flying in there's getting better. Like the instructors and stuff are kind of learning more cool tricks and techniques, and it's just like it's leveling up all the time. So it's kind of now it's like all the slots are just getting filled quicker and quicker and quicker and quicker, and there's more wingsuiters, right? So
yeah. When I first went, it was like shortly after they opened, and there was no change in the angle, and I was like, "Nah, this isn't for me." It was kind of it's a different thing, and now it's man, it's great. So, what kind of name is Tomic?
My name, like my parents are actually Polish, but they moved to Australia like way before I was born, and then so my name in Australian it would be Tom or Thomas, and then my parents couldn't speak English properly when I was there, right? So then they would call me Tomic, and then that just kind of transferred over into my school and everything, and then it just stuck with me.
Yeah.
So it's my parents' name, Tomic. Yeah.
So I brought you on to talk because I see you as someone who's really pushing the limits of what's possible in a wingsuit, particularly in base jumping. But you're also someone who's really committed to training, and I think that provides some really interesting insight. So you're a tunnel instructor, professional skydiver. Are you an instructor for base jumping as well?
Yes, I do some base, let's call it coaching, but I'm very like small amounts. You know what I mean? I won't just take on anyone and everyone that's got the money for it. For example, it's like I'm kind of not interested in stacking my books and earning, the money from it. It's more like a passion thing. So if there's someone that I gel with and I think has a good mindset that kind of aligns with mine, and I think that they're willing to listen and do the work, then I'm more than happy to take on that kind of job.
Let's dive into that a little bit. What is the mindset that you think is important or that you gel with?
Kind of the obvious, I guess, which is kind of like just not to take the shortcuts and to do the actual work. I've seen heaps of people. I mean, this is like the same conversation that keeps coming up and up and up again, but people trying to shortcut, you know what I mean? Trying to do the cool shit without having to do all the steps in between, right? So that they like want to climb the mountain without having to do the training sort of thing. I need to be able to see that this person has put in the effort in skydiving, for example, has the skills in skydiving that I'll say I would like them to have. So like put some time into, say, wingsuit performance flying, so they know the ranges of their wingsuit, can do some like at least some sort of acrobatic style, has good awareness of their body. There's other different, you know, disciplines in skydiving as well, which are all beneficial to wingsuiting. You know what I mean? It's all about awareness, right? And then just having all these things and being able and willing to do the work to then be able to put all the pieces together to then go to the mountains to start putting in the work there and gradually work up to whatever they want to do in the mountains, I guess. Yeah, that depends on them.
One of the things that really stood out for me was, well, for one, your video that you put out last year. It was, yeah, some of the most amazing wingsuiting I'd ever seen, really. What sort of separated it from some of the other stuff that's out there is your comment or the caption that you put in there that it took 5 years for you to train for it. It's like, that's pretty damn impressive. And now I'm talking about you flying through the Woolies Hole. 5 years. What did you do in 5 years to prepare for it?
I mean, the 5 years wasn't like, this is gonna take me 5 years to do, right? This is more like I had a dream, you know, like in the big, like I always wanted to wingsuit base jump, right? And I always wanted to fly terrain lines and this and that. And like I had my dreams and my visions and my goals of how I wanted to fly. As I kind of like created my own little path and like what I thought I required to be able to get to wingsuit base. I just obviously the longer you're in a sport, the more you see, the more you learn, the more you realize you don't know. Right. So then I started adding on this and that and this and that. And then it took another year. And then, oh man, I'm not ready for this or that. And like along that journey, I happened to be with my mentor, Oleg Tomileski, and he pointed out Yuli's Hole from like the other side of the valley. And then he said, I remember watching a video, you know, then I went down the rabbit hole of watching Yuli's videos. And I'm like, oh, wow. Like, you know, that was like, I can't imagine what it felt like to be him. You know what I mean? To be able to do something, to be able to go, like fly through there, or how that felt. And then it's just kind of like a dream that I wanted to achieve, but I knew that I still had, like, for that to be possible for me, I needed to do this, all these things. And as I set out on that kind of journey, started to tick off these, or, you know, gather all these skill sets and things like that, started to discover more skill sets that I needed. And I guess eventually it just kind of, the dream just kind of grew from just wanting to fly through the hole to then turn it into, say, my own kind of dynamic way to fly down the whole entire mountain, not just the hole. The hole was just like phase one kind of thing, like one portion of it, because there's a whole bunch of the rest of the mountain which you can do stuff on, and create this amazing line right from start to finish. And I kind of like to, you know, so then I just kind of, broke that down again even more to then be able to, you know, to do the dynamic stuff as well as the accuracy and things like that. And there was years that I was already there wingsuit base jumping and, like, you know, flying Milchstuhl and that, but I wasn't confident enough, you know, in my own skills and accuracy and things like that. And then I realized that, you know, maybe if I kind of get a job in the tunnel, I'm going to get to wingsuit every single day and this and that. Maybe I start coaching, then I'm going to be in the sport and I'm going to be learning it. So I just try to stack up as many training, you know, as much experience as I could to kind of like keep pushing towards that goal. And it wasn't until after I'd already been flying in the tunnel a bunch and had kind of gained a lot more confidence in my accuracy and, you know, my ability to stay in one spot, that it became more of like a realistic goal. And then I kind of started to, you know, put the pieces together to then eventually accomplish it. and not only just go and fly through it, but fly the whole line the way I wanted to.
No, you said a lot of this and that and this and that. I'm wondering if you could be a little bit more specific about how you
Yeah.
broke it down.
Whoa, there's so much to it. There's like, so you obviously need the glide and the understanding of flying down terrain and being able to measure how you would even line the hole up, right? So that's one part of it. Learning how to fly in the mountains and be able to have a good sight picture and manage glide, which is I would say lots of the glide and the suit range skills come from a wingsuit performance in the sky to begin with. Once you learn all those things in the wingsuit performance kind of realm in the sky, you kind of develop the feelings and the knowledge and the things that kind of go behind it. Then doing the time in the mountains to develop the sight picture of flying, along the ground, and then how to kind of incorporate those feelings and those skills and the data and everything that you've learnt in the sky and combine the two together. And so that obviously takes time and experience, you know what I mean? Jumping in the mountains, learning about conditions and how they affect all these body positions and things that you've, been learning and listening to. Because, when you're flying in the sky and you're listening to whatever glide ratio it is, it's going to be much different when you're flying along, in the mountains, and it's constantly changing because you got thermals or whatever. So there's that portion of it.
Let me cut you off there for a second, because
Yep.
Training for performance is pretty specific, and like for me, I think my biggest leap in terms of skills came from training for Red Bull Aces. And that was a little bit different, I wasn't necessarily, or we weren't necessarily crunching data, but we were flying as a group through different, jump plans. And so I'm wondering, like, when you trained for performance, were you with your fly site? Was it a solo track? Was it flying with friends? Like, break it down a little bit for me.
So I pretty much just got pulled into the whole actual wingsuit skydive competitions. And at this stage, when I started competing, I'd only been kind of like, it was only like a hint given to me, or, like a discussion from a friend that it could be valuable to me. I wasn't even wingsuiting in the mountains yet. You know what I mean? I was just flying my onesie. But I'd already started in the skydive realm. I started competing. And it wasn't until I competed and spent a lot of time, doing the runs, gathering the data, learning how to read the data, actually trying to maximize my performance before I could then understand how it could help my base jumping. I also needed to go base jumping, start my wingsuit base season, my first wingsuit base jumps, and fly in the mountains and gather that data, and then kind of compare the two, and before I could start linking them together again.
Yeah, you guys have an amazing racing scene in Australia. Were there some people that really helped you along the way?
Yeah, I mean, I guess Jeff kind of pushed me onto it a little bit, Jeff Weatherall. And then I had Luke Rogers was, at my drop zone. Well, the drop zone that I was at. And since I've known him, that's been, he's been focused on being like world champ, right? So he's like similar mindset, really, really driven. And I just got along with him and just like kind of leached onto him.
Nice.
And then, he taught me a whole bunch about, even though he doesn't base jump, he's got an extremely a massive amount of information and knowledge on how the wingsuit performance stuff works. So it's not a far stretch to then be able to put it into base if you kind of understand the base environment a bit.
Sure. Yeah, Luke's a legend, man.
Yeah. I'm stoked. He finally got his world championship. Sick.
Yeah, I've been trying to line up another conversation with him. He's been busy too.
Mm.
So then we talked about the performance. So that's like the glide aspect. Let's so go back to Uli's whole project. So gliding, sight picture, staying still that you got from the tunnel. And so then following that, is there any other pieces that you kind of stand out for you in that project where you're like, okay, this is what I need to check off before I make this happen?
Yeah, I mean, I never had any access to targets, which wasn't a thing for me, but I went and found like tree gates and things like that, which I would just like, even at Brento, have this certain tree that I would go and fly, like line up in different ways, different conditions, and fly past it. Not super like on the deck or anything, but it was like just fly past this spot and try and be as accurate to it as I can, and just measure that, and not only do it in like one way, but like from different angles and different conditions and with different speeds and things like that, and something in a place where it was achievable to do a lot of times, and it was kind of safer, I guess, because got a bit of a drop off after it, and something like that. What else?
Well, something.
The whole
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, man.
Yep. There's the whole like dynamic portion of it that kind of all connected together once I'd already been flying in the mountains a while. You know what I mean? It's just like, yeah, the whole I like the flaring side of things just from skydiving and wingsuit performance competitions. You got to enter the window doing huge flares, or you punch out a speed run, and and then you do a huge flare at the end of it. I just love doing flares. I mean, they're super fun. And then combining, doing a huge flare with like a big cork at the end of it is just like, I mean, it's just awesome. It's sick. So I want to do more of that. And then, yeah, that kind of started to do that in the, like up really high, like off the end of jumps or and then just incorporate it more and more into my base jumping. So then those skill sets developed, like I was trained them in the sky, like around clouds and things, and just using the data to get better, and then progressively made them better, put them into the base environment as well.
Yeah, corkscrews are definitely like a signature element of your style. I want to break this down a little bit finer detail as well. So, like the corkscrews, you're saying that you were just practicing them around clouds, and then you looked at the data to refine them a little bit. What were you looking for in the data to make them better?
So first of all, I wanted to be able to do them in kind of not just like go flat, then do a corkscrew, and then pitch my wingsuit down and lose a whole bunch of altitude. So I'd go out and learn how to do them, like say with a small flare, and then do it whatever to the right, and then do another one with like a bigger flare and hold it for longer and make it slower, or do one with a big flare and kind of whip it at the top, and kind of gather the data and see if I was gaining altitude, how much altitude I was losing, like just did them in a whole bunch of different ways, and then just pretty much jump, land, get on my computer, sit in the corner of the drop zone like a nerd, look at what I did, get back on the plane, do it again. And yeah, so the fly site really helped me with figuring out exactly how to initiate corkscrews and how to make them like go into the direction that I wanted to go, not just fly, huck something, and hope I end up on my belly in the right place. None of my corkscrews work like that. Every part of the corkscrew is under control and it has adjustment throughout the whole process. So it's like, even though I'm upside down, I'm still looking at a certain reference point and I'm adjusting. And if I need to, I can stop it and flip it around and be on my belly instantly. Or I just keep holding it, and making like the whole bottom arc and aligning it with the terrain, right? So it's the whole entire corkscrew is under constant adjustment and analysis when I'm flying. There's no part of it where it's just like I don't know where I am or what I'm doing. Yeah.
Did that awareness in your corkscrews like slowly develop over time?
Yeah, definitely did, for sure. I'm definitely better at, I understand it all much better now than I used to. I mean, I used to always definitely do them much higher and then in different places. Now that I have more of the awareness and a better awareness, I feel a lot more confident, and I feel like I have a lot more margin to do them in different places. And I know that if I, fuck it up here or there, I know how to escape, or get out of it. You know what I mean? Halfway through it or whatever. So
It's wild,
now,
the whole element of awareness, right? Like, I remember from my vertical tunnel training, like first time I did outface carving, I was just fucking lost in the tunnel. Like, where's the references? I'm getting dizzy, and then you just do it a little bit more, and you do it a little bit more, and you do it a little more. The dizziness goes away, and then you can start seeing, you start noticing things that are happening outside of the tunnel. You know where you are. I mean, shoot, my outface carving definitely still needs a lot of work, but it was just amazing for me to like understand that, oh wow, okay, like the more practice, all this awareness just kind of opens up.
yeah, I totally agree. The whole, and even just having the vertical tunnel experience, I mean, awareness, that combines straight into wingsuiting as well. You know what I mean? It's like, I think we've talked about it before, or about there's like 4 kind of quadrants that I kind of refer to as like to kind of pursue this complete wingsuit base jumper, or just not wingsuit base jumper, just wingsuit pilot. Right. So one corner would be like the whole skydiving, and all the different elements in skydiving, not only wingsuiting or like wingsuit competition flying, but like belly and flying on your back, or angles, or flying a skydive canopy. And you got all that information there. Then you got another quadrant which is vertical, the vertical realm. So that would include vertical tunnel, knowing how to fly on your head or be comfortable in that position, or at least not have never been in that position, so that if you do find yourself as a wingsuiter in that position, it's not the first time you were there, right? Because you're never going to learn how to get out of a position in 0.5 of a second, which is what you got. You know what I mean? So it's good to have that quadrant as well. The next one would be like the wingsuit tunnel, and all these little fine tuning precision like elements that you learn, like the repetition you get in there, and the understanding of exactly how to move your body and different parts of your body to gain a certain result in your flying is like, it's invaluable. It's like, it's saved me before. Like, I say, come down a little bit lower, I need all the lift I can get. I know exactly which way to move my body to just maximize everything to come straight off the deck or wherever it is. And there's no time wasted in, maybe my arm needs to go here or here. Like, I just know exactly where to put it. And that's all from, practicing those movements in the tunnel. And then the last quadrant would be like just flying in the mountains. So being in the mountains, not only in a wingsuit, but just spending time in the mountains, say even flying your base canopy, knowing how to land your base canopy in, say, opening lower and being able to land quick, or being able to land wherever you want, or hanging out in the mountains and like understanding mountain conditions on a level that's not just out of a book. Lots of people, you can read any book and you can know all the information you want out of a book, but unless you're spending time in the mountains and able to identify what's going on and what you've read in that book and what's happening, you can't. It's useless. You know what I mean? And I feel like, for me, that sort of stuff comes only from spending time in the mountains. So yeah,
It's interesting because I think all of the things that you've been talking about in terms of the quadrants and the training and everything like that, it's the main theme that seems to carry over into all of them is to train it until you're not thinking about it. It just becomes reflex.
Yeah. Yeah, 100% agree. I didn't think about it that way, but you're completely right.
That's funny too, because I
Yeah.
recently took a paragliding exam, and I've done zero book, except for micrometeorology. Like all the other stuff has been completely like learned by practice, and I didn't do very good on the test. And the instructor, who's also a base jumper, he's like, we had been doing a bunch of cross country flights together, and he's like, man, I've seen you do this maneuver to capture this thermal over here. Like what I'm trying to break it down for you here is this is what we're asking you. And I was like, oh yeah, of course. So it was like, yeah, I don't know where I'm going with this, but it was like the book smarts need to be to traverse into like the practice so that you can like again not just think about it, just becomes regular reflex.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's a similar concept to the whole, if something happens, you're going to drop to the level of your training, right? So if you're intimately like by reflex, say you've learned how to fly on your back, for example. If you're flying, come around a corner and you cop a crosswind and you're on the terrain and you get flipped on your back, if you don't have muscle memory of flying on your back, you're not going to figure it out in 1 second. You know what I mean? That's it. You're just going to lay there trying to figure it out. But if you do, boom, you're straight back over, or you keep flying it or whatever, and you're good. So the whole muscle memory thing, the more that you get, the better off you are.
Yeah, I'm curious about that. There's like a whole generation of base jumpers now, wingsuit base jumper that has come up with the tunnel, and we're seeing a huge increase in people's skills that don't have a whole lot of skydiving. And I'm wondering, like, when someone is focused on wingsuit base and they come to the tunnel for the first time, for one, it's like massively humbling, right? Because you think you're some sort of a good wingsuiter because you're a wingsuit base jumper, and then boom, you get slapped in the face instantly. And you're like, okay, I need to go and like, fly in the smallest suit possible on these, on the, what do you guys call it? The harness.
Yeah, the ropes.
On the ropes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And man, some people suffer with that humility check, huh?
100%. 100%.
And I'm wondering, because like most things, when you're cross training, like you don't need to get that 100%. Like there's like an 80% or smaller. Where do you think, like, what should someone's evolution in the tunnel be, or their progression in the tunnel be, to where you think they've sort of not necessarily arrived, but that's what they should strive for to transfer it into the mountains? I mean, because I see a lot of like the tunnel instructors and some of the guys that spend a lot of tunnel, like, they're doing triple barrel rolls and working on advanced pancakes and all this kind of stuff that's fucking awesome. And it's fun to do with your friends when you're doing acro and stuff like that.
Mhm.
But maybe you could break down the progression that you would see that's most applicable for wingsuiters that want to progress in their base jumping.
Well, if they want a wingsuit base jump, I highly suggest that they're doing most of their training in the sky. Right? You need to do that. In terms of the tunnel, you can definitely learn a lot more than just doing transitions or pancakes or whatever. It's another like range. I don't know how to explain it, but the first thing we kind of do is try and teach people to fly a neutral body position. So most like base jumpers and people that don't, I haven't been to the tunnel, for example, they've always like, oh yeah, got to go fly fast, got to fly fast, got to fly fast. And everyone's always got this forwards, shoulders forward, like forwards input. And that's how they fly the whole time. Their range to go forward more, it's non-existent because they're already using all their forward and their lift all at once. And that's the neutral position that they fly in. So the first thing we're trying to do is trying to pull off the forward and the upward input to put them in a neutral position. So then they have range. So they're able to fly forwards when they put their forwards input, and then they fly backwards when they put their backwards input, up when they want to go up, and et cetera, et cetera. So just learning that is then going to be very beneficial to whatever kind of flying you want to do. Once you're in the mountains and you're not fully pinned, like if say you're fully pinned and you come down to the deck and now you need to come off the deck, or you need to get off a flat section and you're already full forward, full lift, you have nothing left. But if you learn to fly in a neutral position, then you have range to get away from those things. So it's a much better position to be flying in, or at least have the knowledge of, to then use in the base environment. Same with anything else that we learn in the tunnel, like transitions or pancakes or whatever, that all goes down this track of learning to actually fly the movements rather than hucking them. Lots of people just kind of throw, say, their arm underneath their body and use momentum to do a transition, instead of actually using their upper arm over the back of them,
Right.
and actually fly that wing over behind them. So it's a completely different kind of like way to look at a transition. And that's just one of the things that we teach in the tunnel. Learning those sorts of techniques, that's just going to open up a whole new I'm kind of lost with how to finish explaining this, but it's just going to open your eyes to a whole different way of flying. It's going to be more, instead of losing control than regaining control by hucking things, you're constantly going to be in control because you're going to be flying everything. So you don't want to be in the mountains hucking stuff and then trying to catch it and hope you're okay. You know what I mean? You want to be in control the whole time. So that's another good benefit from the tunnel. I mean, there's heaps more. I should have written down a list, but I don't. I don't
No, this
know.
is all good stuff. You started off by saying if you want to get ready for base, you should skydive. What is it that you get out of skydiving that you don't get in the tunnel?
So the wingsuit performance skills, right? I think they are gold for any wingsuit base jumper. Like learning to fly a distance position, or even bringing it back. You got to do a flare into literally all your runs. Being good at flaring in the mountains is super beneficial, right? Then once you're in, after that flare, you're either into a distance run or a time run or a speed. You don't flare, you just fly straight into it. But say distance and time. So distance is, once you spend a lot of time in that position, you intimately will know what your maximum distance position configuration feels like and how it roughly performs. And you'll also know how to accelerate it, because once you're in that kind of max glide position, to accelerate your forward speed, you need to stay in it and then kind of lean over, the handlebars kind of thing, to accelerate that forward speed and not lose any lift. And you're kind of getting the feedback on your fly sight, so you're actually doing it, and then you know how that feels. You spend jump after jump after jump doing it, and then you develop, again, the muscle memory, how to do that particular thing, so that when you get in the mountains, now you exit and you want to fly and you want to get over this ridge, and you go, that is 500 meters away, it's ages away. Am I going to make it? You're going to get into your maximum distance position instantly, and then you're going to be able to see whether the mountain is dropping or going up or down. If you're going to make it, you're going to make that decision already, like hundreds and hundreds of meters away, because you're already into your max position. You can't go anymore because you know it intimately. So you've already decided this is the max, and the mountain is coming up. I'm not going to make it. I can decide I'm bailing because there's no way I'm going to make it. Someone that doesn't have those skills or that knowledge will just be searching. They'll be looking for lift, trying to push forward, right till they get to in front of the ridge. And then now they realize, nah, I'm not going to make it. And now they will decide, I'm going to bail. But they're 50 meters away from it, or 100 meters, right? And they have no time to decide. So their decision gets made in a portion, in a part of the jump where they have no way to escape. Whereas someone that does have those skills gets to make those decisions way back here and have the chance to escape and not escape. That's just distance. You also have time. So time is just learning to fly on your stall point, right? Or close to it, and learning to fly slow. Everyone's obsessed with speed, but learning to fly slow is just as important. So for me, I use flying slow in situations like I've come around, say a corner, and I'm like I can't see the landing area from the exit point. I've come around a corner and I'm flying around on the, say, like wherever on the terrain, and I can't see my landing area. So I flare up off the deck, like as far as I can, kind of thing, get close to my stall point, but like just flying slow. Everything slows down, and I'm just floating there all the way up in the air, and then I can easily look around, go, I've got all the time in the world, not all the time in the world, but a lot more time to take a look around, go, yep, okay, there is my escape or my target or my landing area, and then I dive, build speed, and continue. So it's a super, if just for that, it's a super useful tool. Speed is pretty obvious. You know what I mean? You learned how to operate your wingsuit at higher, lower, max speeds. When you're on the deck, when you're not on the deck, you just need to know how to fly your wingsuit with energy and how much energy you got.
Before we go into speed, I'm wondering if you could walk us through a proper flare technique. Like when I talked to Luke, he had this whole mantra about like when in his full speed position or his maximum body configuration, and he just cycled through it. It was like shoulders, core, knees, toes, and just kind of cycled through that continuously. Now, for a flare, what goes through your mind? Do you have a mantra? Do you kind of check in with your physical body, or is it? What are the steps to maximizing your flare potential?
A flare will always start, like, you have to pre-think about that you want to flare here. Or if you don't have that, the luxury of, okay, I want to flare now, you want to carry as much speed, horizontal speed, as you can into an fully open, stretched out, say, a wingsuit configuration, right? And then you want to be pulling up on pushing your arms up into the leading edge without pushing your arms down too far. You start pushing your arms down too far, you start inducing drag because the relative wind is coming in front of you from in front. And as you push your arms down, then the wind is just pushing straight into that. So you're losing your horizontal speed. Any horizontal speed that you lose is going to be speed that you lose trying to go back up, taken away from your flare. So you're trying to push your arms into the leading edge at the same time as pushing your hips up and kind of trying to stretch the suit out. And as you can feel the lift increasing, then you're going to start to do your flare. Then you can slowly, maybe once you're in a kind of a more head up position, start to push the wings forward to kind of try to cup that air that's in front of you. And then you could even maybe look down, but it depends if you're trying to do a max flare or just like a big flare. There's all different kinds of flares, you know what I mean? If you're going for some like record or something, you're going to approach it in a different way to if you're just flying on the terrain and you need to get off it.
From what I understand is like a good flare, there's a few stages, right? Like you obviously just like in parachuting or with under canopy, like you have your speed portion and then the flat or the transition portion and then the upward position. Terrible technical terms I just used there, but bear with me. That transition period or the flat section where you're transitioning the speed into lift, is that something that's sort of like intuitive to you, or when do you know, okay, I'm going to transition now into the lift?
the portion that is the flattest right before the flare, you want to spend as little time in that as possible. So a wingsuit can't fly flat across the ground, right? It's just it's not good
Physics,
enough.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So whatever angle you're in and speed you're flying, you want to milk that for as long as you can. And then once you've decided I'm going to flare, you start to peel out and go into the flat kind of zone, whatever you want to call it. The second that you feel like you're flying flat into the horizon, it's time to start pushing into the leading edge and incorporating your other inputs to start trying to go vertical. You want to carry as much forward speed as you can into it.
What are some common mistakes that you see people making when they're attempting to make a big flare?
They rush the angle into the horizontal part. So if you rush the steep part into the actual going upwards portion, so that's what I should have said, you end up mushing through the whatever
transition.
you call it, the transition. Yeah, I don't know the word for it either. So it's got to be an efficient kind of purposeful, it's got to be a movement with intention. You can't just kind of smash it in, because it's just going to end up going from this to this, and you mush through, lose all your energy, and you might end up just like flattening out, but not actually gaining any altitude. So that's why it's really important to push into that leading edge forwards, because that will give you a gradual, efficient transfer of energy from this to this. And then once you've transferred that energy efficiently to here, it's time now to use it to go up.
Gotcha. Man, I did a lot of that in the early days, man. It resulted in a lot of line twits.
Yeah. I can see that. Another thing is your head. That lots of people, the head for most people, even myself, if I didn't go to the tunnel, I wouldn't know anywhere near as much about this as I do now. But whatever the head is doing is obviously connected to what the neck's doing, connected to what the body is doing. So if you're flying and you're flaring and then you're looking up, this is kind of connecting to your chest, which is spilling air, right? So then you're going to be creating this, the transition and losing a lot of energy.
Let me just break that down, because you gave me a bunch of visual references there. So like as you're lifting up, your chin's coming up, your shoulders are coming back, and then that's where the air is spilling.
Yes. Yeah. Because it's kind of creating this, chest proud position, which the air is kind of coming off from the sides, I guess. In the tunnel, I'll just give you an example. It's like when you're flying on your belly, and one of the things we teach is like you're looking forwards and you pull your chin up, and that makes your chest kind of come out, and then you just drop, you come straight down. It is a similar thing for, like, say, flaring or starting your wingsuit off an exit. It's like if your head is up and you're looking forwards, then your head is connected to your neck, connected to your chest. It's going to open, and you're going to lose efficiency and lose performance there. So when you want to do your flare, you want to be making sure your chin's tucked in, and your head and your body and your spine is as flat as it can possibly be. You're kind of, maybe if you need to look forward, you kind of just like got your head to the side and kind of peering out the side. But you want that head and that spine straight as possible.
Looking up from the side, that was something that, like, for tunnel flying, that really stood out for me. It was like, damn, our head can create so much lift. It's wild. Like, even just putting it to the side, you get more than just putting your face straight down into it, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, so just to break that down a little bit, one of the common mistakes that you see people making is just basically looking up when they're flaring, because it just spills a lot of air and you lose a ton of performance.
Yeah, that's definitely another one of them.
Yeah.
So mushing through and rushing it. So making sure, they go from the speed to the flare portion too quickly. And then, either looking up and losing all that energy, or just even pushing their hips down. And it's kind of the same sort of body position that you get into, but from the back half.
Cool. So that's been a lot of technical stuff we've been chatting about. Maybe we can get into some stories here. You said that you always wanted to be a base jumper. Was there something like early on that did you see a video? Like what got you inspired from the beginning?
Man, I just same as a lot of other people, I guess, but YouTube, that's the very first place I ever saw it. Like I was already, I guess I was surfing and rock climbing and traveling and whatever, and I just stumbled across a base jumping video, which you know I kind of went down the rabbit hole on a little bit, and I found wingsuiting. And then once I found that, it was like that was it. There's ever since that moment, which is like I don't even know how many years ago, like 13, 14 years ago or something. Ever since that moment, it's just my focus is just it hasn't strayed a second. It just keeps getting more and more. Like, I love this shit.
Yeah, that was the same thing for me. So you were rock climbing and surfing.
Mm.
What do you think that you took from those sports or those activities that like helped you to lead into your? Because I mean, obviously you have a very focused mindset. Did you have that same sort of focus with your climbing and your surfing?
Um, yeah, I guess so. I mean, I'm an only child. I've kind of been alone, a bit of a loner for most of my life. So I like kind of cruising around, just keeping myself occupied. Um, I've also always kind of done, solo like sports. Like it was always either skateboarding or body. The surfing part was minimal. It was more. I actually bodyboarded more.
Mhm.
That's what I used to do a lot of, and I liked. And then eventually into some rock climbing, and the bodyboarding side of things, not so much because I was a lot younger. I still trained and realized that I need to do this a lot to get to be any good at it. Um, but I guess it wasn't till I started to rock climb that I understood this kind of like this method of projecting, right? And then like to train to get this certain climb, you need to break this climb down into certain portions and the crux. And then I can't do the crux right now, so I've got to go to the gym and I've got to do this one hand movement over and over and over and over till I can get it. And then I go back to the project and go try the project. So that mentality, I guess, resonated with me a lot, and I saw results, obviously. So, and I think it works with pretty much anything that I do. So, I mean, which is pretty much just wingsuiting at the moment, but it works for wingsuiting just as good. Say if I want to go do a line or anything, I approach it in the exact same way. I say I want to do a certain maneuver or whatever. I go somewhere else, somewhere easier, like Brento or whatever. Spend a bunch of time there doing and practicing the certain maneuver or certain way I want to do something. Then I'll go to the project and wait for the good conditions. Try and do it. If it's all lining up, I'll try it. If I'm not feeling it, I won't do it. I'll go back, do more training because I wasn't ready. Then I go try it again. And yeah.
Do you feel like this element of preparation requires a bit of patience, or is that something that just kind of comes naturally for you?
I wouldn't say naturally. I mean, I do try and be a patient, you know what I mean? But I like the training, you know what I mean? I've not decided, uh I've built, I guess, appreciation for, doing the process of the work that comes in to then get the results. And doing the work always ends up putting me in a position where when I'm standing there and I'm good to go, I feel so much better about it. Like I'm not in like my mindset is completely different. I'm so much more confident in myself and my skills, and I know what I can do and I can't do, that I can enjoy the moment. Does that I'm not just standing on the edge of the cliff and am I going to survive? It's I'm ready. I'm going to fly the shit out of this. You know what I mean? And then it becomes just enjoyment, and then I love it. You know what I mean? Rather than be scared shitless if I'm going to die or not.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, to be cliche about it, instead of like searching for the goal, you're enjoying the path, and
Yeah.
and you seem to get more satisfaction out of completing that goal just by enjoying the path more with the training, and then that stepping up to the exit point with the confidence, knowing like I'm going to slay this.
Yeah.
All right.
Something like that.
Do you have any rituals that you have at the exit point? Like when you step up to that exit point, like do you visualize? Do you have a certain way that you put on your gear? Do you have a checklist? Like walk me through what's going on in your mind when you're zipping up, or you've just put your bag down.
I would say it starts way before. Like I would say I'm not like a, what do you call it, like a superstitious kind of person. I don't have like I got to do my left shoelace up first or anything. But all my preparation for whatever I'm doing starts way before I even start the hike. You know what I mean? Like I'll be sitting in my van the night before and on Google Earth, putting markers in, seeing how far one point is to the other, see how much distance it is, and roughly calculating what sort of glide I'm going to need, and to get to this certain point in the mountain, so then I can potentially do a corkscrew in this area. And for me to be able to do that, I need this kind of start. So then when I go, I have all these things visualized, like pre-planned, I guess, and then visualized. And then when I go to the actual exit or whatever, it's just no real thing. I just set all the normal safety checks, the leg straps, chest strap, pilot chute, make sure everything's comfortable. I like to wear my stash bag, for example, upside down and not under my shoulders, because I want to have complete control of my, my body, and I hate having things underneath my rig. So just I have a way of putting, my gear on that I like, I guess, but no actual like rituals that I do on the exit apart from what I just mentioned.
Okay. And now when you're you mentioned in a conversation prior to this recording that you're like real anal with your gear. Like you put it in a trash bag, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I guess this shit's expensive, right? Well, I wasn't sponsored I'd never used to get help, right? So if I got a wingsuit, it had to last me a long time. And I just feel like I want maximum performance from my gear. So for my gear to have maximum performance on as many jumps as it can give me, I need to look after it. So, I put my wingsuit inside a garbage bag into my stash bag, so that when I get to the exit point, I look like a clown, but whatever. It doesn't really bother me. I pull out my garbage bag and put it, on the ground, and then put my stash bag on. And then I have like a little jersey that then goes over the top of my stash bag and everything. So all the buckles and everything, it's like I'm back to like a clean body. And then I put my wingsuit on over the top of that. And then at the very end, I'll pick up the garbage bag and roll it up and put it into one of my pockets. So then the wingsuit never touches the dirt. Nothing ever touches the dirt. So, yeah.
So you're not one of those guys that walks around the drop zone with his suit dragging on the ground? Nah, good for you, man.
No way.
That always makes me cringe.
Yeah. Yeah, me too, to be honest. But that's their journey, not mine.
Do you use base beta?
Yeah.
Cool. They're supporting this episode. Yeah, I think base beta, like there's some discussion about like how much information should be shared, but I think I think the sketchiest parts of some of the base jumping I've done has just been like scrambling around looking for the exit point, you know,
Yeah.
and like having like a proper GPS, knowing exactly where to go can save us all a lot of unneeded danger.
Yeah, 100%.
And yeah, just a little message from them. They offer $10 for any approach GPX file for any terminal exit, and $5 for a slider down. And all you have to do is send them your Venmo, PayPal, or crypto name to team@basebeta.com. And you can send that GPX as an attachment, and you know, that just helps you to offset some of the prices that, you know, this expensive sport can have.
Yeah, sick. Yeah, I'll pass it on.
So you
Yeah.
talked about Google Earth. We talked about base beta. Is there any other like technology that you use? Do you have a laser? Are you measuring stuff?
Yeah. Yeah, I use a laser sometimes when I'm not 100% confident on the, say the numbers, or I just maybe want to try a different, like exit from a different point. I wouldn't say, like, I would love to open more exits, but I don't have, like, at the moment, I don't have anywhere near enough time. So whenever I do get time off, the way I like to fly is, rather than opening some short start or whatever, I just go and try fly, my kind of lines on pre-opened exits. There's so many
That are already open. Yeah. Like, I mean, you're like seem like a style and technique guy. So that makes a lot of sense. That may change over the time though, right?
Yeah. Yeah. If I get the opportunity to go, open some stuff, or I see some stuff, like my eyes are already kind of like now, as I'm spending time there, looking at places that are potentially going to have, cool lines. Maybe do a bit more in the future. But for now, like, I mean, I have barely even scratched the surface of like France, for example, and there's so much to do there. Or like, there's so many. I mean, it's never ending.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's one of the beauties of the sport. There's so much adventure to be had. We talked a little bit about you getting into the sport. Did you take a first jump course, or did you have a mentor? How was what was your early days of base jumping like? Do as I say, not as I did. Is that another one?
No, it's not. I wouldn't call it that. It was actually kind of funny. It's like the instruction I got on my I won't name names, whatever. You can probably figure that out. But my first wingsuit jumps out of a plane were, here's a wingsuit. This is how you put it on. Have fun. And I had to work it out. And then after that, like, oh yeah, sweet, you survived. I ended up going back to Australia, and then I basically self-taught myself. I never had no coaches or anything. Just YouTube and Instagram, and I just consumed as much, video, and just watched. I seen some people, say more experienced guys, the drop zone, would ask them questions and that. But for the most part,
So are we
they
talking
don't.
about wingsuiting, or are we talking about base jumping?
Oh, sorry, wingsuiting in general.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
But base jumping, yeah, I had a mentor, and he taught me to base jump. Oleg Tomileski.
yeah, I've
Pretty
jumped a
sure you
lot
know
with
him.
Oleg.
Yeah. And so he taught me how to base jump. He pretty much, like, I met him at a drop zone. He said, I told him what my goals were, and he's like, go buy a rig and come back, and I'll teach you to base jump. And I don't think he was expecting me to go to it, but I went, came back next year, I'm ready. So then, yeah, he took me on, and yeah, taught me to base jump, and yeah, it's pretty much it. He doesn't really jump anymore or anything, so I think he's a pilot now.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
And then, so did you have any close calls that you can share with us?
Yeah, I guess so. Nothing that's like, uh, nothing that's super crazy. I guess I had one that was actually doing a corkscrew, and it was around a gully, and it just went a little, like, overcooked it, let's call it. Like, just did it too aggressively and come around the bottom, and then kind of got this little hiccup like this. So I went so you can see. So I went too far down and went, and then went back like this. And then as I kind of come back and ended up like this, I just went straight into full power, full glide reactions from the tunnel and flew out of it, no problem. But if I didn't have those tunnel skills, I don't think I'd probably be here. So I could probably thank the tunnel for saving me there. Apart from that, not really. I have, I injured myself a while ago, slided down jumping. I would call that just being dumb and overconfident and under canopy and making a stupid decision. It was trying to swoop into a kind of smaller landing area after I'd been super current, I guess, jumping every single day, and copped a bit of a gust which pushed me in front of towards a tree as I was coming in. And then our only option was to kind of try and flare over it. And as I got to the top, I had to hold on to the flare because I couldn't let go because I would just surged into the ground. And then just come over the tree and down from I don't even know, something like 7 meters or something substantial, and just kind of compress my spine and cook myself. And I would definitely chalk that up to overconfidence. And I would say that I'm actually happy that happened in that environment, because it wasn't in a wingsuit. It was just doing a slider down jump and just under canopy. And I take that overconfidence lesson with me everywhere now, on all my jumps, all my wingsuit jumps, all my everything. So I'm happy that it didn't end me.
Yeah, sometimes those little lessons can be the best thing that ever happened to us.
Yeah.
It's hard to deny that you're not at the sharpest end of our sport, and wingsuit base is obviously pretty fucking dangerous. Do you feel is this something that you acknowledge, that you're pushing the limits of the sport and you are in perhaps the most dangerous practice within the most dangerous sport?
Yeah, of course I acknowledge it. I know, I realize the risks, and I'm very aware of where I'm at and what I'm trying to do. I'm also trying to do everything in my power to be the person that can do and fly the way I fly with the best possible chances. There's only one thing I want, and that's to fly my wingsuit and how I want to fly it. So I've made the sacrifices that I feel that are necessary to be able to make that choice. And I'm very well aware of the risks of it, how it could end. But that's not gonna change my outcome, because I love to fly, and this is my vision of how I want to fly. And if I want to keep flying like that, I realize I need to train more. I need to do this. I need to do that. I need to prepare, and I want to do as much as I can to do the things that I want to do. In saying that, I'm not out there every single day just doing terrain. My the way I approach it is more of like a, train, skydive, tunnel, fly this, do that, work here, work there, and then I spend a portion of that training time in the mountains executing my projects, right? Or working towards them and then executing them, and spending time in the mountains, which I really, really enjoy. And the rest of my time is spent doing other parts of wingsuiting. And that's either spent training or flying in the tunnel and working and helping other people get better, or skydive coaching, or whatever. I just now finally got myself sorted with a good camera. And I'm really, really psyched on doing some really nice camera flying. So that's another side project which I want to pursue with
What camera did you get?
in a Sony A7R5.
Nice.
And yeah, and I'm super psyched to get, like, because lots of people in like camera flyers or whatever, wingsuits, just kind of like around whatever. I want to try and make some real dynamic, cool, try and put some of that creativity or of my own perspective of that flying into some nice quality images, and then see how that goes. And so then that'll be another big portion of my time. I mean, it's not just spent always on the deck. You know what I mean? Whatever other people think.
Yeah, I mean, that's hard. We should talk about social media because I think that plays into a big part of like the perception of where people are spending their time and how they're flying. But let's talk about camera flying for a second because it was cool because what you said reminded me of what I recently did a couple of jumps with Dan Darby, and he's a super talented camera flyer, and he was flying in his CR Plus, and I was in my Aura, and he said, okay, exit, and slow down your exit just to make sure that I'm on you. And so I did like this kind of like silly exit where I was like trying to make sure that he was going to be able to catch up with me real quick. And man, he shot a beautiful video, and he had these things like just what you're saying, like he broke down the video for me afterwards and was like, okay, here I wanted to be really close, and then as you're going through this feature I let you go away so there's a sense of speed, and then I caught up, and and then I saw that the sun was over here, so I got to the other side so there wouldn't be any glare, and I was like, wow, man, that is
Yeah.
fucking phenomenal. Huge appreciation for that.
Yeah, that gets me psyched. Even just listening to that, I just like I love the technical side of things, obviously, and just this has just even more technicality to it. So, and then being able to also capture like other people, which is also that also inspires me. You know what I mean? I want to be able to get sick footage of someone else and then give it to them, or create, like I just like kind of creating, say, the arty kind of side. It's gonna sound stupid, but yeah, the whole edit things, to me, I like the editing and the creative process. So making the edits and then linking it up with the music, or making the photo and tweaking it so it looks cool, and so all that side of things gets me real psyched.
So, talking about the social media side of stuff, because that's part of like content, creation in extreme sports. There's a double-edged sword to it, right? Because we want to share these experiences that we're having, and it's not always easy, right? Because it can be easily perceived of as like, hey, just check me out, and a lot of times
Yeah.
it's like, I want to, when I'm flying, and I, not like I'm doing anything super incredible, but like I want to share those moments with people. And how do you do that and say like, hey, look, this isn't, look at me, look at what we can do, and look at what we've experienced. This is amazing. Come along with this journey. Do you feel like any pull to do things or to create videos for that sort of feedback loop of likes and shares and all that kind of mess that comes with social media?
Nah, I mean, sure, it's a nice feeling when someone says, "Oh, this was cool," or "This was that," or "Oh, you inspire me," or whatever. You know what I mean? But it's if Instagram died tomorrow, I couldn't care less. It's it has nothing to do with my flying. I like flying because I like the actual flying portion and creating what my own little projects and things. And whether someone sees my end project or they don't see it, it does it has no I don't care. I'm still going to go do it. Yeah. So in a way, yes, it's nice, but in another way it means nothing to me.
Simple as that. I like it. I read a comment. Squirrel shared one of your videos where I think it's in Norway, where you corkscrew into it's a pretty intense line. You like right off the start, you jump in and then do a corkscrew into the terrain, which is like a big canyon or a tight little canyon. And this jumper commented that this shouldn't be shared because it promotes an unsustainable practice. What do you think about that?
I mean, I feel like I've been dealing with those exact kind of comments for quite a while now. It's like, from one perspective, they're kind of right. You know what I mean? Like, sure, it's not sustainable to do every single day. Let's put it that way. Um, it's not sustainable for everyone to do. Um, in my mind, if it's, like, this person, I don't even know who that person is, but they don't know me, and they definitely don't know how I approach my life on a daily basis. They don't see me in the gym lifting weights and holding them at wingsuit arm level for 3 minutes at a time so that I can have a stronger leading edge, or what, you know what I mean? Just all these little things and the work that goes behind it. They don't see it. Not that that's an excuse for going out and doing gnarly stuff, but or making it like an excuse saying that it is sustainable when I know it's not. But that's my kind of, it's my flying style, my choice. And for me to want to do that, I can only do it if I go and train and et cetera, et cetera. And whether someone tells me this is this or that, that's not going to make any difference to me. It's, again, if Instagram wasn't here, I wouldn't even know about that, and I wouldn't care.
Yeah.
And I'd still go do the thing.
Yeah, that's one of the problems, right? Because there's no context, right? Like it's almost like you need a podcast where you can have the person sit down for an hour and a half and describe exactly what they're doing behind it to get the context, right?
Yeah.
And now, like for the people that do see that and are easily influenced into thinking that that's like available to everybody, how do you feel about people that are cutting corners in our sport?
I mean, I try my best to, like I said, with the whole work thing, the whole mindset, that doesn't gel with me. Anyone that's trying to cut corners, I don't. It's not that I don't have any respect for that. It's just like that I just don't agree with. It doesn't align with how I perceive wingsuiting, for example. You know what I mean? Like, I feel you need to do the work if you want to do the good things more than once. And whenever I meet people, because people come through the tunnel, and I have to all of a sudden now have to talk to a lot of people, which hasn't always been, I've kind of always kept to myself and hadn't really talked to many people. But now, because I work there's lots of wingsuit based jumpers and that come through, and they're like, oh, this is cool, or that, or I want to do this and that. And I do my best to kind of like to have a discussion or have a chat with them and tell them and explain to them exactly how much work I've done, or what it took for me to be able to do X, Y, and Z. And then if they want to do it, that's sure, you can do it if you do this, this, and this. You know what I mean? If that's what you really, really want. And this is the risks, and I just try and have a conversation with them. People write to me on Instagram or whatever, and I try and do the same thing. Try and not, I don't get mad or ridicule them or anything like that. I just try and be calm and a good person and just explain to them rationally what it takes, the work it takes to be able to execute what they want in like a logical way.
Have you had to have any hard conversations with people that maybe you've been giving tips to or that you've helped trained and they're going down a path that you don't necessarily agree with?
Yeah, I mean, the hard conversations never really last too long, because as soon as you you make the conversation a hard conversation, lots of time those same people are the ones that don't want to listen. So there's only so much time you can spend talking to a brick wall. And I try, but I'm not going to, I won't spend, I'm not going to spend an eternity trying to change someone's mind if they can't be having their mind changed. I will always try though. So there's that.
Have you ever been on the receiving end of one of these hard conversations?
What do you think? I mean, yes, it happens quite. I mean, it's happened a fair bit. You could probably imagine. Um, Again, the people that actually know me, my like close friends and things, uh, they are the ones they know me intimately enough to see what I'm like on a daily basis and the work that I put in. So, and what I actually want out of my life. Um, so the people that actually matter, those conversations, they're they've been done, and I'm supported. So, and anybody that judges me that doesn't know me, then well, that's a kind of a pointless conversation.
Does I mean, for me, I've sort of changed because before I would get real defensive, like, hey, you don't know what you're talking about, kind of thing, or I would get angry, and then I think the longer that I've been in the sport, the more it's like, thank you, right on. I appreciate that you're pointing that out to me. Whether I agree with it or not, it's at least worth acknowledging that someone else has seen something, because it's really hard to have that personal perception of what you're doing and if those limits are being breached. And if nothing else, it's worth a moment of self-reflection, going like, hey, are they right? And if they're not right, why are they not right? And working all of that stuff out in your head.
I totally 100% agree with you, and I do that every single time, even with random people telling me, I think to myself, why did they say this or that? I do try and have those internal talks with myself constantly. So it's always the internal arguments that just end up being just me in my own head, convincing myself, have I done the training? Am I ready? Is this justifiable? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then if it is, then I do what I want to do.
You said that your friends and the people close to you know what you want out of life. What do you want out of life?
I want a wingsuit as much as I can, and uh, I want to be able to, I have my visions of like, they're always kind of changing with like the little projects and things and the way I want to fly. Yeah, I want to keep creating the lines and the things, the way that I think is possible. I also want to just keep wingsuiting, and that's in every way, not just flying terrain lines. I want to get better at camera flying. I want to, do more, say, wingsuit skydive coaching and teach people. I just love wingsuiting. So anything wingsuiting, run at me. It's sick.
Do you like when I'm listening to you talk about this, I kind of get this feeling that you're more of an artist than an athlete. I mean, obviously you're working out and you're lifting weights and you're training, but there's a lot of this that sounds like art. Have you thought about that at all?
Yeah, I mean, I guess yeah, I have, and that's kind of come up a couple of times, I guess. I just feel really weird saying it for some reason. I don't know. It's like makes it sound like a pansy or something. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. It's just like, oh, you're like some delicate artist, but then you're doing corkscrews in a crack. You're a wingsuit bait. I don't know. It just doesn't. Whatever. I don't know. I don't have any sort of label that I want to give myself. I don't. I haven't really thought about,
Mhm.
but I do agree with you. I do see, the I do really like the creativity and yeah, that portion of it. Yeah.
Yeah, it shows. I don't know. There's a whole lot of different kinds of artists out there, and there's definitely some hard ones out there. I'll throw you in that category. Does
Jeez.
has being at this the sharp end, as we're calling it, of the sport, changed your relationship with your own sense of mortality?
Yeah, I guess so. Um, I mean, just being around base jumping, I think does that. The more, the longer you're around it, the more friends you lose, the more you realize, that, I mean, even just age, the longer you're alive, the shorter everything gets. You know what I mean? The more you realize that this isn't, infinite. So, yeah, it's definitely changed my perspective on it. But yeah, it's changed my perspective, but it's not made me fear death anymore. It's just made me want to live exactly and just double down more on what I want to do. You know what I mean? It just makes me more confident in the person that I want to be, and fly how I want to fly and do the things that I want to do, rather than, I don't know, sit around in a box fearing for life.
Cheers to that, brother. Well, before we wrap it up, I think you've covered like some of the things that you want to do in the future. It sounds like you want to do more camera flying. Are there any other plans that you have that you want to share with us?
No, not really. Just kind of more of like I go do it, then show. Not really. Don't like talking about the things. Don't want to put that pressure on myself. But I do want to do more, say, skydive camps and outside coaching and things like that, and just help people, achieve, or the kind of dreams that I be the person that I would want to have around. I mean, it's been said a million times by, like, I'm sure a bunch of your guests as well. Be the person that I wish I had around to help guide me, right? And so I don't have to make as many mistakes, and just make their process, their progression, say, quicker, so they can get better, so then they can teach me.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, right on, man. It's been a pleasure chatting with you.
Same. Cheers for having me on.
We hope you enjoyed this episode. If you have any thoughts about what you've just heard, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. Big shout out to Mark Stockwell, our sound engineer and co-producer. We love you, and we couldn't do this without you. If you'd like to learn more about the podcast, visit our website, exitpointpodcast.com. And if you're jumping out there, remember that fame is simply being recognizable, infamy is to be storied, and legendary is something else entirely.